What is up, guys, and welcome to the Meeple Minded podcast, the podcast where we talk all things tabletop gaming. My name is Jason.
I'm James.
And I'm Paul.
How are you doing, Paul?
I'm here. I'm out of the shed.
You're out of the shed.
And I've left him in there.
You have.
Yes,
Thank God.
Yeah, I've left him learning solo games, so that's fine.
Excellent. It's been a while since you've been in the studio with us.
Oh, it has, yeah. You lost the key, didn't you?
I did. Yeah, definitely.
Are we referring to your front room as a studio now?
It's always been the studio. But yes, it's good to have you, Paul.
Thank you very much.
Obviously, you being here usually means one thing.
I don't have to do the news.
That you don't have to do the news. But more importantly, it's the end of the year.
Another one.
Can you believe that it's already the end of 2022?
Oh, it's just flown by, hasn't it?
It really has.
Yep.
For me, though, 2022 was what I was hoping 2021 was going to be. We've had a full year without having to be locked up, I believe. Did we start the year in lockdown? I can't even remember now.
No, I think a few of the clubs were still wondering whether they were.
I think we were coming out of it January, so like maybe the first month of 2022 was a bit shaky, and then
it's been pretty free running since then. I mean, obviously, global pandemic is still a thing. It's still out there, but it seems to be yesterday's news for the most part, I would say. But
Yeah, it seems to be overtaken by a few other things that have crept up this year, isn't it?
oh, of course, yeah. I mean, something's got to fuel the media all that time, isn't it? Really? I mean,
yep.
I mean, let's not even touch on the catastrophe that has been the United Kingdom this year.
Let alone Europe and ex-Soviet unions and...
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I think that's the long and short of it. I think if you want a good laugh,
Yes.
watch this year in review for United Kingdom.
Well, I mean, it is like the governments of the world literally turned around and went, we've locked our people up for a year and a half. What can we do to make things better? Oh, let's have recession and war. That's a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. So, yeah, great year all round, really, for 2022.
Let's see how many services we can make strike.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that seems to be our thing at the moment, definitely.
And if you live in Britain, our government just went, well, just to finish things off, let's drive the economy into a brick wall because, lol.
Yeah. And I think when it comes to our leadership as well, it's like shuffling
one?
a deck of cards at the moment, isn't it?
Which one?
Who's in power this week?
Yeah, I don't know.
I think it's my turn next week. We just draw straws now.
Yeah.
It's like jury duty. You just get a letter in the post.
You're now the
This
Prime
week
Minister.
you are the Prime Minister.
Can you outlast this lettuce? Or was it a cabbage? I can't remember.
I think
it was a lettuce.
Yeah.
And the lettuce won.
Fantastic. Gotta love our own government.
Dear listeners, if you are wondering what it is like to be British, we were genuinely rooting for the lettuce.
Oh, yes. I think the lettuce actually achieved far more.
Yes, the lettuce was more popular than the so-called elective representative.
See, we always say that we're not good. We don't go into political stuff on the show, but you've got to have a laugh
When
about
it involves a lettuce, we've got to go there.
Yeah, definitely. You'll always get my vote. Hands up for the lettuce party. Let's go.
Let us vote for a lettuce.
Oh, dear God. Thank God I haven't got the effect for that stupid didum. Let's stop talking about everything else that was 2022. We want to talk about games for 2022. And I'm sort of going to start and say 2022 was the return to form for me with regards to tabletop gaming. We started getting lots of new releases. We had the return of all the massive cons. You know, UKGE here. We had Essen was back at almost full capacity, I believe. Obviously, we've just had PAX Unplugged. We've also had Gen Con. Some of them still obviously having a few restrictions in place, but for the most part, tabletop gaming was back at full strength.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All very close to.
Or very close to it, yeah. So, I mean, other than that, how's the year been for yourself, Paul?
It's been great. In myself, especially with depression and anxiety and everything. It's been great this year. Gaming groups have come on leaps and bounds. Mine especially, we've been managing at least 35, 40 people on our meets, which is great.
That's
and that's including new members every time we've run.
Yeah.
We've had regulars sort of dip in and out and everything, but the new people have made up the numbers especially. So I'm forbidden a time when I get there and all the regulars turn up and all the new people turn up as well, and then new people on top of that. And I'm thinking, where the hell are we going to put tables up?
Yes, I can totally agree with that, and I'm sure James will also agree with that one.
It's been the same for us, hasn't it? Since the end of lockdown, we've just seen our numbers
skyrocket for the most part.
Is the best word to describe it. It's a lovely problem to have.
But now tables become a problem and space.
Yeah.
As opposed to, we could fit far, far more people in the hall, but obviously couple that with the size of gaming tables and stuff like that, it becomes full very, very quickly. And I mean, you've been there on some of our busiest nights where we topped 50 people one evening.
Yeah.
And that was absolutely phenomenal. That was probably it was about 10 more than our previous highest.
Yeah.
And we've done that a good few times now.
Yeah.
And yet 2 years ago we were sitting there going, 17, this is really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy. It really is crazy. And the amount of new blood that has come to the hobby and the fact that it's sustained itself as well. It's not like people have dipped into it when they first come out of lockdown and then work life has taken over. They've seemingly maintained that kind of commitment to the hobby. So
yeah.
That to me is great.
I think that's one way the lockdowns did benefit sort of tabletop gaming as a whole, because most people took it up during the lockdowns and it was their main source of entertainment when they couldn't go out. So they caught the bug, enjoyed the hobby, and then when the lockdowns lifted, it was, I can actually go out and do this now.
Yeah. Oh, hang on a minute. There's actual places that people go to and play these games with other people. It's great. It really is great. We've got a few members that have joined us through that. I know you are the same. But when it comes to game releases, have you had any highlights this year that have maybe come out, or other highlights maybe?
Well, first for me is actually sitting down and playing Twilight Imperium, 4th edition for the first time ever. And I know it's one of these holy grail games that people would like to play, but it's setting the time aside for it.
Yes.
And we just so happened to gather a group of 5-6 of us together, pick a date that we were all free, and we just sod it, we'll go for it.
Yeah.
And it was an instant love affair.
Oh, okay.
With Twilight Imperium.
Have you bought it?
I haven't bought it.
This is good.
Someone in the group has bought it, or they had bought it, and it had been sat on their shelf of shame.
Yep.
Because of that particular reason, you can't get that many people around a table for that for that amount of time.
There is a hell of a commitment. Is that game? You've got to commit as the group to kind of continue to play it going forward, and
we've played it 3 times this year, which is
pretty good.
Great. Although they sort of mention the 12-hour mark, it's never taken us that long.
No,
I think we're between the sort of 8 and 10 hours, maybe. And I know it's only 10 points to win the game, but it's something to behold and something to really get your teeth into.
Yeah.
It's still on my... I have to play this game at some point.
Yeah.
I can safely say it's not on mine.
No.
I've played it once. That was enough.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of the big slog fests, of games. I'm much more comfortable at the sort of the 1 to 2 hour mark, maximum of about 3 at a push 4. But so I can appreciate why so many people like the game. It's just too much of a commitment for me. When I'm one of these people, I get in a ridiculous amount of games this year, and it really... When we're preparing for the list that we're going to be doing a little bit later, I was going back through all of the games I played this year because I've started logging them this year on the BG Stats app, which was a whole new experience for me. But I will continue to do it because creating these lists became really easy using that app, which was fantastic. But just seeing the amount of games I'd played, the variety of games I played, the amount of players I'd played with, it was great. James is probably person I've played most games with. I think you come in at a close second.
Really? I didn't think we played many games together.
You'd be surprised. I think it's because on your game days when we've played games together, we've usually played games the whole day. So we've probably done 5 or 6 games in one day.
True. Yeah.
Whereas me and James might do that same amount of games, but in the space of a week.
Yeah.
So it sort of evens out.
That for me, that's one thing that will be my New Year's resolution, if you like. I'll actually get you to point me at that app, and then from 1st of January, sort of start of a brand new year, I'm gonna start doing the same thing.
Nice. Yeah, no, that would be
good. New Year's resolutions already.
Yeah. Gaming ones, I might actually stick to it.
You won't have a choice when I'm around.
Get your phone out.
Yeah. With him, it'll be log it that I beat you.
Yeah. I mean, I don't need to because I do it. But the real thing is then people will be able to see the discrepancies in mine when I say I've won and I haven't, or James says he's won and he hasn't. Like last night when you won a game of Heat, you clearly didn't. I won that.
Obviously, I was there. I can back him up.
But you were doing donuts on that corner all evening. It's
Yeah, I didn't do well at that. That was not my finest moment.
I just call it showboating.
Exactly. I'd
it only
already
works
won.
when you're in first.
I'd already won a game of it. I was letting you feel what it was like.
Of course you were.
But I mean, that being said, Heat, that's obviously a brand spanking new game that's come out later this year, as well as a few others that we've been really, really hyped for. I know, Paul, you were the same as me, really hyped for Starship Captains.
Yep, finally arrived, undamaged.
Yeah, you didn't have much luck with that on the first attempt, did you?
That's going into one of my negatives, so I'll leave that for a bit.
Okay, cool. We'll leave that. Yeah, I've obviously got Starship Captains again. We've played a game of that, James.
We have. We both loved it.
Yeah, definitely. First impressions of it, fantastic. Other than the two games that we've just talked about, has there been any other sort of highlight games that have come out this year, or maybe was due to come out this year that you're kind of upset that didn't? I mean, I can just chuck in Jurassic World Miniatures game that,
Yeah,
I've been waiting for the past
year.
4 or 5 years at this point. Which I don't think will ever turn up at with various, I mean, that's a huge negative. It's become evidently clear that Exode games are gone, as is all of the backers' money. And they've just ghosted everyone. So, my first real regret from Kickstarter, which is a shame because it's also one of my most pledged Kickstarters. But hey ho. What can you do?
Yep.
That go into one of my other negatives is the prices on Kickstarter going through the roof this year.
Yeah.
I know it's been a worldwide thing, and especially the shipping costs. I mean, when the shipping costs are exceeding the price of the game itself, you know something's not up to scratch.
Yeah, I would agree. And like I said, we don't want to make it out like this year has all been sunshine and daisies. As you said, we've had issues with shipping and costs going up in general. We, a couple of weeks ago, James, did our episode about Games Workshop.
Yep.
Wasn't really an episode, was more of a rant. But, about them putting up prices for the independent stockists. We also covered the fact that multiple independent stockists in our local area alone have closed down in the past month to 2 months.
Yeah, which leads me on to my first negative, which is obviously losing our local gaming store very recently to all of that, which was rubbish.
Yes, it was not good at all. I mean, they were always really supportive of us.
Yeah,
with both the Game Club and this podcast. They obviously were our very first affiliate partner, which was a shame that we lost them. We had a very good deal going on there, but obviously times are tough. The financial debt or lack of income obviously overcame them with their outgoings. But how's things down your way, Paul? I mean, it's only half an hour up the road, but still.
Yeah, but we've seen the same down in Worthing. Dyson Drinks in Burgess Hills maintaining themselves. Every time I walk past, there's barely anyone in there, to be honest. And they've got lots of sort of makeshift curtains up to try and keep the heat in and everything. But they have been on a few podcasts and videos this year as well, sort of trying to promote the store. And then down in Worthing as well, obviously we lost Ransacked last year.
Yeah.
But we've had Dice Worthing move in
Yes.
to their old stores. And we've had Coffee Games and
I did see that. There's another hobby shop that's opened down. Which is good.
I popped down there when I was summoned to the work office, and I thought, well, whilst I'm here, I wandered in to see one of our members who actually works in the shop, so I had a bit of a tour of the shop. And they seem to be coming up, and Worthing board gamers especially are using both Dice Worthing and CGC for their evening dues, as well as over at the hotel as well. But they're Worthing's up and coming. They're started doing their game days as well this year.
Yep.
Which has been great to have another group join us, as well as some more local groups as well. We've had another group in Brighton join us as well.
Mm-hmm.
The team over at Custard Kraken, who released the game on Kickstarter a couple of years ago. They started doing a Wednesday evening meet-up just on the outskirts of Brighton. And we've also had one of our particular members came along, Eleanor. She started up a once a month evening group on a Wednesday in Burgess Hill as well.
Nice.
I haven't had a chance to get along there yet, but she seems to be having the numbers that she wants over the last 2-3 months. So
nice. James, it appears the place to be is the south coast of the UK.
Indeed.
10 minutes south?
Yeah, 10 minutes south. Lots of gaming next year, James.
Yep.
Are you ready for it?
I am ready for it, which leads me on to a positive, which is a personal positive.
Okay.
Obviously, this is my first full year on the podcast.
Yes.
Which I very much enjoyed, and throwing myself into board gaming, sort of fully played lots of games. So that's been a big positive for me.
Nice. Have you enjoyed it? That's the key thing.
No, you're a slave driver.
I am enjoying it. But
He's locked me in the bloody shed.
you all love it. Don't complain. I let you all off and you all decided to come here tonight.
Yeah, no, on a serious note, yeah, I have really enjoyed it.
That's good because I still enjoy doing this. So it's hard to think, Paul, that me and you especially, we've been doing this nearly 3 years now. We're only 2020, July 2020 is when we started.
First on 3 episodes in? You brought me on.
You were episode number 3, yes. Yeah. And then your official, I guess, debut as an actual member of the crew was a week later. So, yeah. There you go.
Absolutely.
We've been going 2.5 years, and I cannot believe it. James, you've obviously been here a fair amount of time now. I think we were working it out earlier, weren't we? Year and a half.
Year and a half. Sort of stepped in around July, I think it was.
End of July time, I think, yeah.
Yep. So a year and a half is my first full year on here.
Well, you're still here.
Indeed.
And I'm very, very grateful for you to be here. Now, before we go on to doing some we're going to do some top 3 lists because I think top 5 will take us too long. Before we go on to that, I want to talk about the podcast just a little bit because we talked about it last year, and this time last year we did about 6,000 downloads for that year, and we were all really, really happy with that. And I asked both of you what your personal objectives were for the podcast for the following year, i.e. this year. And I believe you both said that you wanted to up it to 10,000 downloads. So I don't know if either of you have had a look.
Do you want me to get the drumsticks out?
Yeah, invisible drums. I did look. I'm actually looking as we speak. So at the time of recording, this is the start of December. So we've still got one more episode to come out before this one. So plus this one. And we are currently sat at 19,629 downloads. So how do you feel about that, guys?
Fantastic.
Yeah, well, if we smashed our own target.
Yeah, and even 20,000 by the end of the year.
Exactly. I mean, usually, when we release a new episode, we get obviously a decent amount of downloads for that episode, but we also get a load of new listeners listening to our back catalogue as well. So for the most part, each week we've been averaging about 500 to 1,000 downloads. Obviously, depending on the episode contents and stuff like that. So it goes without reason that we're going to probably do at least another 1,000 before this episode even comes out. So I think that's great. And I think on those grounds,
thank you
so much.
Thank you very much.
That's that's awesome.
Sorry, are we thanking ourselves or the listeners?
Oh, I thought you were thanking me. I mean, it's clearly all me.
It's down to James and myself, isn't it? Backing you up.
Of course.
Well, all I'm going to say at this point is, you were on 6,000 last year, then I came on and it suddenly jumped to 19.
Yeah. I mean, there's probably other reasons, but
I would.
Although there are a large amount of ducks around.
It's funny, our listener viewership just plummets as soon as the news starts. But no, all joking aside, thank you guys so much for continuing to support me in doing this.
Yeah.
And I think the numbers speak for themselves that we're doing something right.
Yeah, I mean, we've thanked the listeners, you've thanked us. I think we should also thank Jason for the amount of effort he puts into this. I mean, you do all the editing.
He's going red.
Yeah,
he's going red.
It's the only time I'll ever be nice to him. And you do all the episode planning. At the end of the day, when we turn up to record these things, I just do what he tells me. Effectively,
he's written your script already.
Not so much a script, but he's done all the like what the episode's about, the main talking points. Once we're finished, he does all the editing. I just talk into a microphone.
He's got the easy job, really.
Yeah. So, behind the scenes, Jason actually does a hell of a lot of work for this. And Paul doing all his research for the news as well. I feel like I just got the easy job here.
Paul, we need to brainstorm and find something for James to do.
That's right. Yeah, fine. I'll get Brian on it. He's not doing anything.
Yeah, why not? There's two slackers in this podcast. So,
And one's
I was going to say one of them's made of rubber. There we
and
go.
then there's Brian.
Yeah. Anyway, shall we do some top 3 lists, gentlemen? Would you be up for that?
You're going then.
Let's do it.
Excellent, because you weren't going to have a choice. So the first thing I think we will start with is I asked you guys to go away and have a think about the games that you've played this year. And the first list I wanted you to construct was going to be, what are your top 3 games that you've played that are new to you this year? They don't have to be brand new games for 2022, but I just want to know the best games you've played this year that you played for the first time. So, James, what's your number 3?
My number 3, Gang Shon Clever.
Gang Shon Clever. Okay. So the roll and write game.
Yep. I am addicted to it. I even have the app on my phone.
Yeah.
Excellent.
When I first played it, the app was downloaded and me and my wife got a higher score than you. Got a higher score than you. Higher score than you. Higher score than you.
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah, I am fully addicted to that game.
Okay. Which is actually quite ironic, really, because that when I was looking at my stats earlier, Gang Shon Clever is actually one of my most played games this year, but I have decided to leave that out of lists that come later on because of it being such a sort of filler game for me. But yeah, it's definitely a game that I think has seen the table loads this year, and I can tell you that you enjoy it. So the fact that you bought it on the app as well is fantastic.
Yep.
Do we share high scores?
I can't remember mine.
I can't remember
I think
mine.
like 228 something or other for me.
268 last time I played, yeah.
Nice.
Mine's are the ones, so I'm just gonna...
He loves it that much. That's why he's been playing it so much. He needs to get better.
Yep.
But yeah, so Gang Shon Clever for James is his number 3. What about you, Paul? Number 3?
I played Dwellings of Eldervale.
Ooh.
Yes.
Okay.
We were invited round to some friends' houses and, played it for the first time and thoroughly enjoyed it. Had watched plenty of playthroughs, so I managed to jump in relatively quickly. My wife was along for the ride, so I was sort of coaching her as we went along as well. So I was sort of playing it from 2 angles, to be honest. And thoroughly enjoyed it.
Excellent. Excellent stuff. It's a game that I haven't actually played myself, so that might be one that might end up on this list next year. Who knows?
Yes, absolutely.
So my number 3 was actually one that Paul introduced me to, and it's a very, very lightweight one. It is one that we did an episode on. That was Project L. I played that for the first time this year. Really, really good game by Boardcubator, which was, I guess we could cover. That's a bit of sad news that Boardcubator are no longer. They closed down this year as well, so that's a bit of a downer on that one.
Yeah.
Because they did some really, really good games, and Project L was one of them. Obviously, the lovely little plasticky Tetris pieces that are nicely brightly coloured, popping off of those black and white boards. It was just fantastic. Really, really simple. Every time we've played it at a club, it's gone down well. Yeah. So, yeah, Project L was my
certainly
number
high
3.
production value on that one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, James, number 2.
So, number 2 for me, ironically, is Project L.
Oh, well, there we go. Very good game.
Yep.
Copy and paste everything I just said. What's your reason that that was your number 2?
It's quick enough to be a nice little icebreaker, but it's also incredibly thinky at the same time. It's one of those games that just sucks you in when you sort of look at it and go, oh, it's board game Tetris, and then when you actually play it, it's like it's another one of those. It's addictive.
Yeah, I would agree on that. Definitely.
You instantly want to jump into a second game.
Yeah. And go, oh, if only I'd done this right. If I do that again, and suddenly you've played 4 games and it's midnight.
Yeah. Oh, how many times has that happened this year, James? I think 1 too many.
Yes.
But yes, nice. So Project L was your number 2. Paul, number 2 for you.
My number 2 is Ark Nova.
Okay, very, very good.
Yes, was taught it back to the other side of the summer, and that was an insta-buy for me. Again, I had the same issues with Starship Captains. It arrived broken. So
Yep.
I ended up buying it from our friendly local gaming store when they were still around, whilst the other one was on its way back to the store. But no, Ark Nova certainly scratched a certain itch in me for the complexity of it. I've since pimped it out as much as I can do,
Yeah.
as much as I did Lost Ruins of Arnak.
Yep.
But it's one that will stay in the collection and come out relatively frequently.
Nice.
I have taught the wife it, which I was surprised at, and she did actually get it and beat me. But we won't go into that. But no, it's certainly a game. If someone says, "Oh, do you want to play Ark Nova?" Yeah, that's a definite. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, we've played it a fair amount this year. Again, that was quite high up on my list of games played this year, so I can completely agree with that. So my number 2 is another, well, obviously new game to me. That's why it's on the list. It was one that was on my list to play for absolutely ages, ever since it was released. That was Lost Ruins of Arnak.
Oh, well done. Yeah.
Finally managed to get it to the table. I've played it in physical form once. However, the amount of times I've played it on Board Game Arena, it's probably one of my most played games on Board Game Arena for this year. Really, really love that game. I cannot wait to get it to the table again. I don't personally own it, mainly because I know 3 different people that own it. I don't feel the need to.
Yep.
However, if I don't get it to the table in physical form soon, I can well believe I'm going to end up with it just so that I can force people to play it. So yeah, Lost Ruins of Arnak is my number 2.
And rumours of a new expansion coming out.
Oh, yes. Yes. Shh. Okay, James, the number 1 game that you played for the first time this year
Is Ark Nova.
Ark Nova. Okay, James, why did Ark Nova make it to number 1 for you?
The main reason, and this is going to be a strange reason, is because the very first time I played it, I didn't like it.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I know we shared that sentiment.
Yep. And the fact that I persevered, and by the 3rd playthrough, I absolutely loved it. That to me is a game that is worth being at number 1.
Yes.
That you play it, you dislike it, but it still leaves you with that.
I need to give it another go.
I need to give it another go, and then it wins you over. It is a game that deserves the number 1 spot.
Yeah.
Oh, well done.
Very, very good. Paul, number 1 for you.
Twilight Imperium, 4th edition.
Predictable.
No, when we sat down to play it, it was a new game to all of us. And so we did have a learning curve for the 5-6 of us that were playing. But I think the first game took us 10, 11 hours. That was including lunch and the learning part as well. But next minute we were driving home in the dark again, and we're thinking, oh, where did that time go? But the time went so fast and so well that I was eager to go and learn strategies on YouTube of how to do better next time. And although the second time I played, I was the same faction, I thought I'd go in and do something completely different of what they're supposed to do rather than what I did with them the first time.
Yeah.
And it just brings you in and gets you addicted. And I think 3-4 other people at the table said exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
Where did the time go? When can we play it again?
Nice.
And yeah, that's certainly stuck with me this year.
Well, that's sounds like it's a very valid number 1 for you. Number 1 for me is Ark Nova. It is Ark Nova for me as well. Again, as I said, one of my most played games this year for the multitude of reasons. But again, what James said, I hated that game when I first played it. I persevered, as I always do, because I do believe minimum 3 plays to get even the smallest glimpse of an idea of how a game really is being played. And by the second time it started to grow on me a little bit. Still didn't sort of see the hype, but number 3 was that golden nugget, and it really clicked with me on the 3rd play, and I've lost track of how many plays I've had. Thank God for the app that actually tells me how many times I've played that game. But Ark Nova for me was the best game that I played for the first time this year. Yeah. So there you go, Ark Nova. A pretty good list there, guys.
I mean, Ark Nova's on all 3 of our lists, so
yeah. Full respects to Ark Nova, and obviously see what the expansion brings next year.
Yes.
So we got obviously we're going to be doing a few of these top 3 lists. And I think the next one goes without saying that we need to talk about the top 3 games that we played this year that came out this year. So 2022. Let's go the other way around this time. Paul, what's your number 3 for brand new games that you played this year?
Number 3 is Living Forest.
Living Forest. Oh, okay.
It's one I've played the most as well because my wife loves it. And I thoroughly enjoy it as well.
Yeah.
It's easy enough to teach to up-and-coming gamers as well as more experienced ones. To be honest, it can end quite quickly.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the artwork and the production value of it is brilliant. And the whole system of... It's pushy luck. It's Quacks of Quedlinburg with cards.
Yeah.
Especially the artwork and everything's fantastic. But the whole game and which direction do you really want to go in? Is someone else going in that direction? Can I pip them at the post? Depending on player order and everything. But yeah, that's certainly high on my list of games that came out this year, yes.
Very nice. Again, really, really good game. I'm looking forward to trying the expansion for that as well. Was it Kadama?
Kadama's
expansion, yeah. So a bit of a crossover.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Tree spirits coming in.
Yeah, so I'm definitely interested in trying that. It's an interesting one to be on the list because I thought about Living Forest myself and I was trying to figure out whether it was actually a 2022 game or a 2021 game because I think that's another one of those games that officially came out in 2021, but because we're in the UK, we don't get to see these games for quite some time afterwards and they usually tend to turn up on our shores.
Because it was
quite
a big selling point at UKGE this year, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
It was on every stall to be sold.
Yeah.
And that's the first time, to be honest, I became aware of it.
Yeah.
It hadn't sort of jumped into my space before then.
Yeah, I think it obviously came out in like the rest of Europe a little bit before 2022 because obviously it qualified for this year's Spiel Awards. So I'm guessing it technically came out last year, but yeah, for us in the UK, just bear in mind that we get games a lot later than the rest of the world. So yeah, very, very good number 3 for you.
I didn't even look at the date on it.
No, that's fair. James, your number 3.
So for me, before I go into my list, it's like I should probably mention all 3 of these could easily have gone into the first list we did as well. The only reason they weren't there is, aside from one of them, we've only played them once, which means that we haven't seen, like by our rules, we haven't seen everything the game has to offer, which is why they're not in the best games I played this year and the best new games. Yeah. 2 of them are also very, very recent.
Yes. Okay.
But for me, number 3 is Flamecraft.
Very, very good. Okay. Yes. I don't think I can disagree with you on that one.
It's one I haven't actually played yet, so...
Oh, you need to play it.
We need to make that happen. We definitely need to make that happen. James, why did Flamecraft make it to your list?
I love the fact that it's an immediate draw when it's all laid out on the table to passers by. It is a very nice looking game with its large cards, its really nice artwork, the map rolled up the middle of the town. The gameplay is actually quite simple yet fun.
Yeah.
And every time we've played it, I've instantly wanted to play it again.
Okay, that's good. It's really, really good. Okay. Anything else you want to say about Flamecraft?
I think you can move on now.
Excellent. So my number 3 is a game that either came out at UK Games Expo or was around that sort of time, and it is Acropolis. Now, again, it seems like this is going to be a carbon copy of the list I did just now. The first game on the list is indeed a much more lightweight game, I would say. But Acropolis, for me, was one of those games that I just sort of didn't expect it to be as addictive and as good as it is. You know, it's a tile placement game. There's nothing particularly special about it, but the component quality on it was good. The gameplay was easy enough and fun enough to teach. And it's one of the few games, James, that we have been playing a game for the first time and you immediately, halfway through the first turn, said, I want to play this again.
Yep.
And that is an instant sign for me as okay, this is good. So again, it got good marks from us when we talked about the game. It was a cheap game, which is even better because we do like a cheap game here. But yeah, Acropolis is my number 3.
Mm-hmm.
Paul,
again,
number 2.
I don't know whether this was late 21 or 22, but it's Ark Nova.
Okay, yeah, I think, again, it's another one of those. It was late 2021, but did not make it to the UK until 2022.
I think I played it sort of mid-year, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, Art Nova. For all the same reasons, it's on the other list.
Yep. No, that's a fair one. Like I said, Art Nova was originally on mine, but I talked myself out of it when I realised some of the other games that... well, in fact, I've altered my list in the past week or so for various reasons, but reasons that will become apparent as we go on. So
yeah, I really tried not to duplicate with my lists.
yes,
Hence why, like I said at the beginning, all of the ones that we're doing in this list could easily have been in the first list.
Yeah. I tried to keep them separate. But James, number 2 for you. Brand new game.
Number two is Starship Captains.
Okay. Very, very good. So Paul only played this for the first time last night.
Yep.
But James, why did this make it to your number 2?
Again, for the kind of game it is, the rule set is surprisingly simple, yet very engaging. There's a lot going on for you to do. When we played it personally, because we've only played it once
At this point.
I found the downtime really didn't exist.
Yeah.
You know, and me and you were both playing it for the first time, so out of the 4 people at the table, we probably had the most reason to actually sit back and go, well, actually, what am I doing? Yet we picked it up instantly.
Yeah. Yeah, very little analysis paralysis that I found when we played that game.
Yeah, and it's got a layer of strategy underneath it for quite a simplistic game, like the way it sort of hints as to where the next mission's coming out. So you can, if you're strategically minded, game the board.
Yes.
But you can also just lay back and have some fun with it.
Yeah, and, the theme... I mean, when I first heard about it, the theme kind of put me off a little bit, but, it drew me back in with the gameplay because I'm not a Star Trek fan.
Yeah, I am. That's another big thing is the theme. It's like I looked at it and went, it's Star Trek, the board game without the IP. I then saw the box art and went, yeah, it's what I thought it was.
So, Paul, what was your first thoughts about it?
I mean, I played it for the first time back at UKGE.
Of course, yeah. When you played with the designer.
With Mr. Offguard in attendance. So that was my claim to fame this year. But yeah, no, it's been on the radar and I've been so eager to play it. And last night didn't disappoint. It was great.
Nice.
It was what I expected it to be.
Nice. Very, very nice. I will announce at this point that it is not on my list, but the main reason is because the other games that are on this list I've played more. Starship Captains is definitely worthy of being on this list. I'm putting it out there now, but hopefully by the time this episode comes out, we will have played it at least a dozen more times.
Yeah.
We are going to be hitting that game quite a bit over the Christmas period, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
As well as my number 2, which is Heat. Pedal to the Metal, which we have played multiple times now. We joked about it earlier. We played it just last night where I decided that rather than racing the car, I thought it would be good to do donuts in one of the corners for 3 of my turns.
It was very funny.
But yeah, that was a real sort of... It was one of the games I really wanted should I've been able to get to Essen this year. I didn't manage to get there. However, as soon as it came available in the UK, I was on it, spending money that I didn't have. Ironically, I bought it the same day that I bought Starship Captains, and then the Royal Mail went on strike, and it took well over a week to get to me, and I was not very happy about that, but that's another story altogether.
Oh, no, I'm surprised that wasn't in your negatives for the year. You were raging about that.
Paul touched on the strikes earlier. I was just going to leave it at that before I raged. But yeah, Heat Pedal to the Metal, really, really good. We've only played the base rules so far.
Yep.
Really, really excited to try those modules.
Yep.
For the game, the building your car stuff.
The weather.
The weather. I really like the idea of the championships in this as well. As we all know, I'm a big fan of Downforce, but this is different. This is a born and bred racing game. Downforce to me is a betting game at this point. If I want a racing game, I'm going to be reaching into my bag for Heat Pedal to the Metal.
It's certainly good at the table yesterday when we saw you playing it. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of good value in that. And when we do our episode on that, I think if our first impressions are anything to go by, we're going to be looking at those high numbers again.
Yep.
So, yes, Paul, you're number 1.
And it's Starship Captains.
Oh. Oh.
It jumped on the list straight from last night.
Oh, that's fair.
I preempted it by writing it in anyway.
Yeah.
Yes, it did meet my expectations. And yeah, it's certainly one that's going to be seeing the table a lot in the near future.
Excellent. Well, I think we've all said enough about it, haven't we, really? We don't need to hear any more about that. So, James.
My number one is Heat. And it has absolutely nothing to do with the fact that I won the game yesterday.
Yes, you did. It's a very rare occasion, so I will allow you this one.
Indeed. So for me, this is a game that I have been waiting for since since I first heard about it, because while I am also a fan of Downforce, I still remember, because it was also Downforce was one of the very first modern board games that I actually played.
Yes, it was.
Even before I was doing the podcast at the old Friday club. And I remember it being got out of the box and think, oh, cool, a racing game. This is really good. And although it is a very good game, feeling let down by it when I quickly worked out that it's not a racing game. It's a betting game.
Yeah.
So I have been waiting for a game. I know there are others out there that would scratch that itch of it's a pure racing game. And then this came along and I have literally been sitting here going, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? If you hadn't already bought it, Heat would have been my second board game purchase.
Oh, okay. Wish I'd known that.
Easily. Easily. I knew you were going to buy it, but when we did the episode with Ant and Wayne a few weeks back, and they were talking about it and playing it at Essen, it was just sort of, I was sitting there going, if Jason doesn't buy it, I will.
Yeah. No, it is a very, very good game.
And as you touched on, we've only played the base game. It's like, I can't wait to try all those other modules, the build your car, the weather, the championship model, all of that. I'm already sitting here going, well, I want to play it.
Yeah, definitely. We need to get Paul to play this as well.
Yeah, it certainly looked like something I'd get into.
Oh, it's great fun. Great fun. Cool. So my number one for brand new games that I played this year is Flamecraft. I love that game. It's amazing. It looks amazing. The components are amazing. Granted, we've got the deluxe version, but I've now seen that all the deluxeified components are available for purchase separately. So even if the retail edition isn't all that great, they're actually really reasonably priced for those deluxe components, so it's well worth buying them. Anyway, yeah, Flamecraft, really, really good fun to play. My partner loves it. I love it. Haven't introduced it to my son yet, but he will love it. 100%. It is one of my, in fact, it's probably going to be the most played game that I will have over Christmas this year. I think the entire family will enjoy that game. So Flamecraft, hands down the best brand new game I have played this year. Okay, now we alluded to this category earlier. It's your most played games this year. Now, obviously, this can be whatever games you've played the most. Now, I did say earlier on that Ganshon Clever is my hands down most played game, but I am discounting it from the list because it is just pure filler. So I will start this one, just seeing as though it's only fair, with my number 3, which is Zuli.
Okay.
Zuli it is, yeah. So the little card game. Now, again, this could be deemed as a bit of a filler game. So, yeah, but to be fair, with the groups we've been playing it with, there's been multiple plays every time we've played it. So add those in as like a best of 3 rounds that we've done.
Yeah.
Best of 3 games. And it makes up to be one very, very good game. So yeah, Zuli is my number 3. James.
My number 3 is Acropolis.
Okay.
Because we've played that quite a few times.
We have indeed, yes. Now, obviously, that's something that we should say is a lot of the games that you play tend to be with me. In fact, for the most part, they're nearly always with me, whereas I get far more gaming in than you're able to attend to. So our list should differ somewhat.
Yeah. But it's very addictive. As you said earlier, it's like we weren't even through the first turn of my first game, and I already said to you, we're having a second playthrough of this. Yeah. And that was mainly because it's sort of, I'd placed it, started doing my first placement or my first round, and the game just clicked like that. And it's like, I can already see where I've made a mistake. Jason, we're playing a second game of this.
Yep. Yeah. No, there you go. Again, very, very good game.
Yep.
Can totally understand why you played it so many times. Paul, you're number 3.
It will be Living Forest.
Living Forest. Okay.
Ever since we bought it, my wife seems to love it. So when we are gaming at home, that seems to be the one that we go to get out
Nice.
on the table. And it's become quite popular at our game days as well. So it does come out, and I am teaching and joining in at the same time.
Yeah.
So, yep, certainly up there on the games I've played this year.
Nice. Yeah. Again, very, very good game. So I'm not surprised to see it on your list. So my number 2 on my list is Ark Nova. I'm amazed that I've played this game as much as I have, because it's a longish game. It's not too long, but the truth of the matter is I really enjoy it. And as Paul stated earlier, the offer is there. It's very, very difficult for me to turn down a spot at the table for Ark Nova. And I think that's why I've ended up playing it so much. It may not always be my copy that we've ended up playing, but I might have attended one of your game days, Paul, and I've just been walking around and someone said, oh, we've got a spot for Ark Nova. Yeah, I'm in.
Yeah.
I'm in. You know, it doesn't matter how tired I am. That's generally a game that I would just say, yeah, count me in 100%. So, yeah, for me, Ark Nova. James, your number 2.
My number 2 is Dice Forge.
Ooh, yes. We did play that quite a lot, didn't we?
That was a standard Wednesday night warm-up.
It was. Yeah. Now I think about it, it was quite high on my list as well. So, yes, very, very good game. Any particular reason you found yourself playing that quite so much, other than the fact that it was
It was a good warm-up game. I love the modifiable dice.
Yes.
I think that's a really good mechanic of that game.
Yes, the totally not Lego dice.
Yes.
Doesn't it come with a spanner?
I don't think it does, actually. No, my copy didn't. They obviously instruct you to use the corner of the pieces to
That's true.
to pop them out. But you can use a...
Yeah, I did pick up a Lego spanner and put it from my collection and put it in the box.
Oh yeah. Well, they might well have used to have done that. They hadn't with my copy. So no, fair enough. Good game there, James. Paul.
Ark Nova.
Ark Nova. I think we've all been playing a lot of Ark Nova.
Although Living Forest is quicker, and I may have played more games of that. I mean, time spent playing it. It's certainly been Ark Nova.
No, okay, fair enough.
But yeah, like every reason that you said, someone says, "Oh, we're just starting this. Do you want to join?" Yeah,
100%. Really, really, really good game.
Again, it's rarely on the table at our game library, our game days, and I've taught it to numerous people, and sometimes they've taken a bit longer to play than others. But it's certainly one that I'll sit down and teach.
So, number 1 for me, most played games this year. Do we have any guesses what my most played game is going to be?
Acropolis.
James?
I have no idea.
Fair play. It's Living Forest.
Oh, it's Living Forest.
It is Living Forest. Again, this is a game that my partner enjoys, so we've played that together as a two-player, much like yourself and your partner. We played it loads when we were gearing up to review it, and it's managed to find its way back to the game clubs quite a lot, because again, it's a nice quick game to play. I've used it as warm-up, cool down, and even the main event of the night. And yeah, all the different game groups that I'm part of, they've all really enjoyed Living Forest, and in a lot of circumstances as well, some of the gamers have then wanted to introduce it to their partner, and as an extension of that, I've then got an invite to come over and play the game with them, and obviously teach the game as well. So I'm getting lots of plays of that game. It's been a very, very good game to have. James, what is your most played game this year?
My most played game, Jason, is Ark Nova.
Oh, shocker.
Yep. Again, echoing both what you both said, it's like if there's a spare slot at that table, I'm sitting in it.
Yeah, 100%. Which is, I mean, we won't say anymore because I think you're fed up with hearing us talk about Ark Nova. But yes, the real question is, when you were thinking back to creating these lists, did it surprise you when you really figured out how many times you played selected games? Or
I mean, at home, I've got various shelves within the house, and the more prominent games I play are on the shelves downstairs.
Right.
So I knew it was from that lot.
Yep.
And it's always the ones that's going into and out of the bags more frequently than anyone else's.
Nice. What about you, James?
I'm that last one this one that we're doing now, the most played. The only thing I was surprised at is that Nemesis didn't make it onto that list. Because I have played it a few times, but when I sat and thought about it, I played all of these games more than I've played that.
Okay.
So it's not a slight on Nemesis. I still love the game to pieces. It's still the only one I've actually spent money on. But at the same time, I don't want to get stuck in that whole, I bought it, so I'm going to play this and just this. It's like, and you know, this year, as I said earlier in my positives, has really been about getting out there and playing more games.
Yeah. No, that's good.
Are we saying that James only owns one game?
We are. Despite my best efforts, he still only owns one
He
game.
impulse buys them all before I even get a chance.
Despite the fact that I've been really, really good this year. Yeah. I'm still buying them at an exceptional
I've got a member of one of our, comes to both our groups, but we tend to tell him about new games coming out.
That's what he does. And obviously I listen to our own podcast because I'm vain and I like the sound of my own voice, evidently. I obviously get to listen to your news segment, and that reminds me to go and buy new games.
He's banned me from Kickstarter, not because I'll spend my money, but because I'll start suggesting stuff. I'll say, have you seen this?
That's why I cut down the Kickstarter lists in the news.
I had no influence on that. But yes, that is true. I've genuinely banned James from looking at Kickstarter because he was sending me so many.
I mean, I go through the lists, Kickstarter pages and pages and pages, and jump onto GameFound and Indiegogo and stuff. And to be honest, it takes a while to find an actual game.
Yeah.
Because a lot of it's
3D printable miniatures, D&D.
extensions and RPGs and everything. And I know I brought a couple RPGs to the Kickstarter list before, but there's very few and far between games. And I'm always trying to limit the amount of money that we want people to spend on games, especially with everything else going on at the moment. But yeah. So that's why... one of the reasons why I've cut down the 3-to-1 list. Yeah. Just to highlight something special rather than giving you a choice of what to spend your money on.
Okay. Well, we've done a few top 3 lists. We've got one more to do.
I haven't done my one yet.
Oh, you haven't? Paul,
Me all together.
what's your number one? What's your most played game this year?
It's Skyjo.
Ah.
Which is more or less because my wife absolutely
Loves it.
Loves it. So it's whenever anybody suggests games, Skyjo, Skyjo, Skyjo. I remember us sitting one evening playing Scythe at one of your gaming groups, and my wife would come along and she really couldn't get her head round it. Yeah. But then once we'd finished and someone suggested Skyjo, her face lit up and everything. So yes, it's one of her favourites, and hence why it's one that I've played quite a lot.
That was one of your favourites for a long period, wasn't it?
Still is. I mean, obviously we haven't played it for a while because there have been...
I got bored of it and took out the bag.
Other things. But yeah, I mean, it's another one of those. If I see the box on the table and there's a spare seat, it's like, definitely, I love this game.
Well, I apologise that I forgot to let you do your number one.
I'm not here very often, but...
I forget that you're here.
I'm a bit hard to miss.
I actually sort of a question to ask the two of you with your extensive games collection to make you sort of think, spur of the moment. And that's, are there any games you haven't managed to get to the table this year that you really want to? Basically taking pride of place on the shelf of shame.
Look at my shelf.
Yep. But is there one that stands out to you? Because I know it's your collection, but I know there's one on there for me that we keep saying we want to get out and we never quite manage it.
It's that big blue and green box, isn't it?
It might be Ankh, Gods of Egypt.
Okay.
Yeah, I've had that one for a little while and we've not managed to get it to the table yet. I'll go first, give you a chance to have a think. So Ankh is definitely one of them. While I have played it this year, I haven't played my copy, so I'd like to play that. Wasteland Express Delivery Service. I have had that for about 8 months now, and it still hasn't seen the table. Really want to get that to the table. I don't feel like we've played Inesh enough. However, that was entirely my fault, not painting the miniatures.
Yes,
fully.
Spraying all the miniatures the same colour and then forgetting about it.
Yeah.
I won't talk about my Nemesis miniatures.
Yeah, but at least that's playable. Whereas
it is.
It's colour dependent.
Painted. Yeah.
It's colour dependent in Inesh. They're probably the main ones, I would say. I mean, Hogs of War is definitely one I still want to play. But every time I open the box, I see the rulebook and just have heart palpitations. And it puts me into a nervous seizure. So it ends up going back in the box and back on the shelf. So yeah, they're games I really want to get to the table, ideally in this coming year.
What about you, Paul?
Well, I did actually bring a game to the club last night that I was hoping to play after Starship Captains that we never got round to. That's actually been sat on my shelf of shame since 2016.
Oh dear.
And we didn't get round to playing it, and I don't know when it's going to come out again, and that's Starship Munchkin.
I'm really glad I didn't go ahead and say this before you announced what the game was, because I was about to say, do you know what? We should actually have a pact between us that we should start having a game club for us where we just play games that we need to get off the shelf of opportunity. But as soon as you said the word Munchkin, I lost interest.
That's the reaction most people get when I bring it out. I saw it on Will Wheaton's game show on YouTube way back when, and I went and bought it, and every club I've taken it to, I've had that exact reaction. Nope, not playing that. Nope, not playing that. Not playing that.
Yeah.
It just hasn't been played yet. And especially because it's not really playable at 2 players.
Yeah.
You need 3 or more.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't see the light of day. But the only other game I really would like to get back to the table is Vindication. It's been sat on the shelf for far too long, and it's something that, I really want to get back out and play again.
Yeah. Okay. So here's the next question. You mentioned Will Wheaton. We know he's a fanatical board gamer. Do we reckon he's played Starship Captains?
Oh, he's got to have. Wow. He's got to have.
And how good was he at it?
Well, he did go around in a multicoloured shirt most of the time and then went to red, didn't he? So, but we all know the red shirt's based on the original series, not next year.
Of course, yeah.
I see, that was a major negative being a Star Trek fan, is that I couldn't kill the red shirts.
Expansion.
Yep.
Death from above.
I mean, I shouldn't have to do anything. It should just be a rule that when you bring them back, it's like, it shouldn't be the androids you abandon, it should be the red shirts.
Although you could get perpetual motion generator going if you had a stormtrooper shooting at a red shirt.
Yeah. Oh, dear. Well, so one final question for you both. What are your predictions for next year? What are your gaming predictions? What do we think we'll see hitting the market? Is there a particular theme that you think is going to be the hotness next year?
We've certainly seen a drop in pandemic-related.
Oh, I can't figure out why.
No. I mean, Star Wars is having a go. They're bringing out a game based on the pandemic mission.
This is true. Yeah. Apparently that's really good, by the way.
Clone Wars one, isn't it?
Yeah, the Clone Wars one.
Yeah, I'll give that a go at some point.
I'm not sure, if I'm honest. Just more of the same, pretty much. 22 has been a pretty good year for games, so more of the same, please.
Okay.
I mean, we've started seeing shipping costs from Kickstarter coming down recently, so I'd hope that makes a better trend.
Yeah. Hopefully it continues on the downward angle.
Yeah.
I would say my prediction for themes next year, because there's always one theme that seems to have a ridiculous amount of games that come out in a very short space of time. And I think we've started to see it already, but I think it will continue heavily into next year. And I think that we will see an increase in the amount of games based on sustainability. Because obviously, like for this year, we've obviously had our friends over at Stop, Drop and Roll who have done Earth Rising. There was the whale one a little while ago, Pods, I forget the name of it, which was a very, very similar sort of sustainability one. We've got Matt Leacock has now done a sustainability game as well, and I think especially when you get a name like Matt Leacock going down a theme, I think you'll start finding all of the other game designers doing the same.
And I have seen a few more on the 2023 release lists that are following that trend.
Yeah, that's going to be my prediction. Like a couple of years ago, we had Dogs. I think was like when Dog Park first hit Kickstarter, that was a big theme.
Alien
zoos,
pugs in mugs.
Yeah. Zoos. There was a year where loads of zoo game comes out, or just animals in general. Where you had Savannah Park.
Yes.
And obviously we did zoography. You had New York Zoo.
Yep.
A lot of them came out in very quick succession. So yeah, my prediction on those is going to be sustainability. Is going to be an interesting one, which will in itself bring an interesting trend to the hobby in the sense of we'll have to see a lot more companies paying far more attention to the sustainable production.
I was literally about to say that it's a risky theme to touch on if your production isn't actually sustainable models, because it's just like, hang on a minute.
Yeah.
Simon are knackered.
Yeah. Yeah.
They can't make all of those games not without plastic.
Can you imagine?
The clue's in the name.
Can you imagine a CMOD game based on sustainability? It's like miniatures galore.
A Galactus made of paper mache.
I mean, it's technically recyclable, isn't it? Yeah, I mean, that would be another prediction I think we'll see we'll see a bigger increase in the smaller side of games. I don't think we'll see quite as many behemoth boxes. I don't think we've seen the last of them, but I do think we're going to, there was a point where it was like every other week there was a behemoth box that was making hundreds upon hundreds of thousands of pounds.
And it's still going on. I mean, Elden Ring's just hit crowdfunding, and you're looking at £450 for the max pledge on that.
Season 1.
Yeah, exactly.
Season 1 of 3.
Yeah.
And the base one is 400 odd. It's insane. People have got too much money. Or have they? That's the question.
But that's another thing I don't want to see, is all the big publishers using Kickstarter.
Yeah, I'd like to see something, a different option. Yeah, I'd like to see crowdfunding return to its core form of being there for people that can't bring these games to market. But, that's real wishful thinking there, I think.
I mean, you think about all the platforms, and we're like straying beyond gaming here, really. It's like, I mean, eBay started off as a second-hand, an online car boot, basically, and now it's just another outlet for major retailers to sell their stuff on.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, that is the power of e-commerce, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it's all of these things, they start off about the little guy, and then the big companies will get their claws into it, and it just becomes another online site. Like I said, you search for something on eBay now, the first 5 returns will be from major brands.
Yeah, sponsored as well.
Yeah,
so they're there for a reason. Yeah,
exactly. But yes, is there anything else you guys want to talk about before we sign off? Is there anything I've forgotten from the list of things that I've sent you? It's more than likely.
No,
I think we've done it all.
Excellent. Well, again, I want to say thank you to you guys for being here for me and helping me in doing this. Obviously, extra thanks goes out to you, Paul, because you genuinely do all of the news yourself. I don't have to edit your bits anymore. You do all that yourself for me as well, which
even better.
Which really does help. It streamlines our process. Me and James have got recording down to a T now that we're recording a few weeks ahead, which enables us to have a few days. If there's a particular week that we're busy, we can take a week off without having to worry. But thank you guys for everything that you do for us. Yeah. And obviously I want to thank the listeners as well for continuing to listen to us ramble every single week.
Ramble, rant,
all the R's. Yeah. And I guess the final thing I want to say as well is thank you to all the guests that we've had this year. We've had a few game designers on. We've had our good friends with our local podcasts, Bored Stupid, MTVB podcast. They've all come on. They've all supported the show. They've had us on their podcasts as well. James, this was your first year of going on other podcasts as well.
It was a year of firsts.
It was indeed. And next year we're going to extend on that. Hopefully we'll get you to UK Games Expo this year.
Yep.
So be another first for you next year.
Indeed, first
my hotel and tickets are booked. I'm going.
Yeah, I haven't quite got that far yet. I keep looking at the hotels and going, that's 3 times as expensive as it was last year.
Yeah, no, it has gone a bit silly.
Yeah. I'm hoping they'll come down a bit, because I know a lot of people have already looked at it and gone, no, that's crazy. So yeah, we shall see. Time will tell. But yes, if that's all we're going to say, guys, I want to say thank you again.
Yep.
And I guess
say thank you as well.
Yeah. Have a great rest of 2022. We'll be back some point in January.
Once the hangovers have rolled off.
Yeah, it definitely won't be the first week in January. I think we're aiming for the second week in January. So yes, until then, you're going to have one more little bit of a Christmas song from us, and then we'll be back to normal.
We're not singing, are we?
We're not.
No,
we're not. Well, we might do, but we'll save their eardrums. I'll turn the mics off at that point. But yes, thank you guys once again. Till next year, I have been Jason.
I have been James.
And I have been Paul.
And you have been listening to the full team of the Meeple Minded
Well, nearly.
doing our nearly doing our year in review for 2022. Thank you very much for joining us. Have a great Christmas break. We'll see you next year. Ta-ta and goodbye.